Welcome, Paul, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Master, this new album, Saints Despilled, and obviously more things related to the metal world in general. So I think we will start with a common question: why the band delayed 4 years, no, 5 years to release this new album? No, 6 years to release this new album.
Almost 6 years. Yeah, the last album's Vindictive Miscreant. It was released in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, Alex and Stenholm, my guitar player and drummer, they quit the band after 16 years. We had like a discussion about some money. They wanted more money. A normal thing in any band, we want more money, and if we don't get more money, we're gonna quit. And the point is that at that time, is that I wasn't getting any more money. So the idea was, oh yeah, we want more money. We're going to take the money from you. Well, you know what I said? Fuck you. And we had a nice time for 16 years, but toward the end there, it's like any marriage. It was kind of, the breakup was inevitable. The drummer was getting on my nerves and always complaining and drinking too much and smoking too much dope, et cetera, et cetera. So when they threatened me with, oh, I want more money, blah, blah, in the middle of the night, when we were supposed to leave a few hours later in the morning to fly to Finland to play some concerts, well, the promoter called me in the middle of the night. Oh, I read this thing on the internet, and the guys are saying they quit the band, and is it true? And I didn't know, I went to the internet in the middle of the night, looked, and sure enough, they wrote a crappy piece about me and saying all kinds of garbage. Well, whatever, the band was over at that point, yeah? So anyway, life goes on. So time ran by. I put together a new lineup with Rustin Gross on drums and Pat Shea on guitar from America. So they came out here. We did some rehearsals. We got together. Well, we ended up, actually, that's not true. They didn't come out right away. Well, whatever. I went out there, first of all. We did some rehearsals. We did a U.S. tour. We did a Mexican tour. And then I came back there again, and we did some more Mexican dates in Central America. And then they came out here in, I think it was probably October of 2020, and we did a European tour. And the final show for the European tour, we did a festival called the Bilbao Death Fest, which was a great time and a blast. Well, that was the last time I saw the guys. They flew home. I flew to Vienna. And when I got off the plane in Vienna, the airport was nearly empty, but a very strange, like something from the Outer Limits or the Twilight Zone, really like science fiction. I got my bags, I got my guitar, I went outside, and normally when you go outside in Vienna, there's probably 500 people getting in and out of cabs and cars and waiting for their loved ones and leaving. Well, the whole airport outside was empty except me smoking a cigarette and one guy with an orange vest on sweeping up cigarette butts. So it was really like science fiction. And obviously, 2 days later, they closed down the Czech Republic and they closed down all of Europe because COVID had hit. Yeah?
Yeah, correct.
So here we are. So the next 2 years, obviously, you well know that everything was closed in Europe. You couldn't play concerts anymore. You couldn't go anywhere. It was so strange here in the Czech Republic that maybe 3 or 4 kilometers from my house, they had the police and the National Guard. They were stopping cars and checking your papers. I never had this kind of activity before. Yeah, okay, back in the let's say in the early 90s on tours in Europe, you'd get stopped because we had borders. There were borders in Italy and Germany and everywhere. You have to stamp your passport. But I never had a border like I said, let's say 3 kilometers from my house, where the 4 policemen with guns and machine guns and rifles are surrounding my van and asking me questions. Sure, they let me go, but this was kind of a scary new world for me. Anyway, so 2 years went by, and things started opening up in the Czech Republic. And so under one of my T-shirt ads or whatever, I put down, hey, I'm really trying to get the band back together. Shows are starting to happen again. Somebody out there want to jam, And an old drummer that we played with in 2010, I actually took him to Brazil the first time for like a 7-week tour. And anyway, he was like not really a teenager, but really young, early 20s. This is a long time ago. And anyway, he wrote me under that thing and said, Paul, I'm really interested in getting back into the music business. I haven't played shows in a couple of years and I want to play drums and I'm interested. So he called my old guitar player, the one that quit, or whatever you want to say. And he had written me once or twice over the 2 years, if you ever need me, I'd be willing to come back and check it out. Well, he came back and then basically we recorded the album in, I guess it would be 2022. Yeah. And a year went by and finally it was just released, yesterday. But really, the record was recorded like a year ago, so you can't really count that year because the record company Hammerheart, they wanted to do a big promotion. So they told me, Paul, I know you recorded this thing already, and it's going to be a year of promotion, and then we're going to put it out. And you know what? This year of promotion is happening. People know about the record all over the world. They're buying it. The pre-orders began like a month ago, and I started selling stuff a month ago, and the sales are through the roof. So anyway, going back to your original question, this is why it took so long. Yeah, this is why it took so long. The band broke up, like I said. The new band broke up. Then COVID. Then I put the new lineup together again with the old guitar player, and that's why it took nearly 6 years to release an album. Not because I wanted to wait that long. I really didn't have a band for quite a bit of time. Shit happens.
Yes, yes. So that's a lot of bands pass with kind of situations. So the next question is: with the 15 albums with master and many experience within each, as you mentioned, in many cases and many other things happens to record this new album, to left the last lineup, etc., etc. What is the feeling that releasing this new album, Saint the Spill, gives to you? Do you think you can keep pressing or pushing the master sound without needing to repeat yourself? Because it's normal for a band after 15 albums. It's normal to drunk from the past albums. It's normal.
Okay, well, actually, it's funny you mention that because in most of the reviews, I'm going to say all of them, but in most of the reviews that I've been reading over the last week, many people are saying, yeah, it's still master. It's master. But once again, they reinvented themselves. So I don't know. It's kind of it's a matter of opinion. For me, the point is that master, we never try to totally outdo ourselves and get all technical. That's not master. The funny thing about a lot of these bands that are more successful than me, I will say that there's a lot of bands out that are more successful and they're way more technical and they're trying and they're jumping on the newest trends and changing their sound completely. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. For me, I'm still sticking to the same thing. When you go back and you go back to Motorhead, for example, you always know what you're going to get on the new Motorhead album. And I feel like it's the same thing in Master. You know what you're going to get on the new Master album. Okay, there are going to be new songs, there are going to be new riffs and different changes and maybe some weird stuff. But basically, it's going to be the same thing again. And the next album, again, will be the same again. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. The wheel was already invented before the Flintstones. It's a joke. But I'm just saying that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I don't care, I want to play music that I like and that I listen to, and I like straightforward metal. I like Motorhead. I like Black Sabbath. I like old Judas Priest, Angel Witch. I like punk bands like Discharge and Minor Threat and MDC. This is the style I'm into. I like Deep Purple and Rainbow. I'm not really a big fan of death metal, so when I get thrown in that category, I kind of laugh. I grew up on bands like Slayer and Metallica. These were the bands the early records, the first few recordings of these bands. This is the stuff I was into, and I'm never going to change. I know that over the years, death metal, thrash metal has totally expanded. There's a million genres now of it, and different subcategories and whatever. And for me, I just still play metal. I don't really care. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I just play what I want to play. And, I hope that people like it. And if they don't, well, fuck off. I'll try again in the next one. Yeah.
That is true. So, No, well, yeah, that's correct that you say this. It's not like it. The next one is more like it. This is for the people. All depends of the people in general. As you say that at the beginning of the answer, your answers depends of the people and the taste. It's normally. So talking about from this as other kind of aspects, we all know that you are the only active member of the band since you start this road on 1983. So you went through many experience and many lineup changes during the
Actually,
41
no.
years.
Yeah,
The
not really.
41 years.
But you got to say that's not true because I had the same lineup for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
was a that was a straight lineup for 16 years until we split up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go back, so the original lineup never got as far as playing. I think we played 2 shows together.
Mm-hmm.
Guys gave up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But
the original. Go ahead. Go ahead. What?
yeah, but the question goes not for the lineup changes, this kind of aspects, goes to you. So what is the main motivation to keep follow with the master career, creating more albums, 15 albums? What's the main motivation? What motivates you to
Main
say,
motivation.
hey, next day I need to write the 16 album from Master?
That's not a problem. What keeps me motivated is going out and playing concerts, you know. Obviously, I said that 2 years was hell, but since those 2 years, we probably played 75 concerts now again. And there's 26 in South America, and there's another like 30 or 40 throughout the year until the end of the year. So the point of the motivation for me is to get out and play and recording these albums from time to time, because it's been, like you said, almost 6 years. So I want to say time to time. But the point is that that's what motivates me is I can get out and play, I like to play concerts, I mean, sometimes there's 50 people, sometimes there's 5,000, but to me, it doesn't matter. The idea is to get out and share your music. And I live for my music and also from my music. I don't have a side job. I haven't worked a side job in 20 years. Music is what I do, and that's all I do. So I have to go out and play. I have to make a living as well, like anybody else. If I'm not working, if I'm not playing concerts, I'm worried, So that's the point.
Hmm. Okay, great. Great. So I think that that is always mentionable among artists is that the new album is always the best work to date. I talk with a lot of bands and say these kind of things. Hey, our last work or our last album or new album is the best work to date. But a curious things happen with this aspect because the fans thinks differently. Some
Mhm.
fans stuck with the old ones, with the first, second, third album. That's normal because
Sure.
they live
Yeah,
an era, and that era loves
of course.
until they die. So that's
Uh-huh.
so that's why. But for you, if we relate this aspect that perhaps you think like that, that this new album is the best work to date, but as I say mentioned, if some fans think that the first 5 albums from Master are the great ones, perhaps which album defines this complete sound for Master for you?
Which album? That's a good question. Yeah, many people are stuck on the first two, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, personally, I think the band got better when I moved to the Czech Republic from like 4 More Years of Terror, The Spirit of the West, The Human Machine, The New Elite. Some of these records are my favorite records because the band did get more technical to a point. Sure, the songs are straightforward, but there are a lot more changes in the songs later on. And so people that are only into the first two albums, so they're missing out. Because even the third album, I think the third album, maybe the production wasn't as great as, say, the second album, because we did it in a different studio. It was a different time. It was more of a punk rock album.
Mm-hmm.
But even Collection of Souls had some unique songs on it. And a lot of people missed out on that. You saying like a favorite album, that's really a hard one for me because obviously you put your heart and soul into every record. Some albums sell more because maybe the people like it better. Sometimes you have more money for the recording. Most of the time, you have a better label behind you. I haven't had a good label behind me since Nuclear Blast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that ended in 1993. If you go like from 1993 forward to like let's think about it, till 2018, most of the labels I was affiliated with were mail order catalog labels. You could only find the CDs on mail order catalogs or vinyl if you're lucky to find a vinyl. It wasn't until Hammerheart took over the business for me 2 years ago and started reissuing the entire catalog that things started really happening again. People are like buying all the old records that it's like they could never find a lot of these releases in America. They never knew about it. Even South America, just a lot of places in general thought that Master stopped in 1993. Some of them thought maybe in 1998 after the Pavement release in America, Faith is in Season. Most people thought the band disappeared forever after that. Well, obviously, when I got to Europe, I recorded another, 7 or 8 albums. But going back to your original question, it's hard for me to say who defines the band because every record was a part of my life, whether it be a good time or a bad time, a part of the history of the world, again, whether it be a good time or a bad time. So it's really hard for me to judge. I know there's guys out there that say, oh, my favorite album I ever recorded was this. Well, that's ridiculous for me. I can never answer that question. Favorite in what? Terms of sales? Oh, well, okay. The first 2 Master albums, oh, they sold like about 80,000 copies. Yeah, they were my favorites for money, for sales. But that's not what I'm in it for. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the music. So I can't say the first 2 albums were my favorite. We didn't know what we were doing on the first 2 albums. They got great promotion and they were pushed and people bought them because in the early 90s, it was a new genre. Well, everyone went out and bought the Master record. It's really true, because
Yeah.
it was a new thing, so it's hard to compare to now, I can only hope for the best on the new album. Yes, my favorite new recording, but it's not my favorite album. I kind of, like I said, I have a different feeling about every record. Yeah. They're all a part of my life. And like when I go back to a record and I put it on or whatever, I remember things the good and the bad things or what was happening in the world or, it's very important. So I can't say what was the perfect time in my life. Right now is the perfect time in my life, but that doesn't mean it's my best record. Yeah.
True, Rowan. That is true. So, you mentioned it a detail about the technical side of the musician, and that the first one is always more raw. That's normally because you start to learn to play guitar, learn compose, and obviously record. That's normal because it is the first album. So, in this study, and other things in other sense. So, but as you progress recording records, your ability as a musician improves a lot, and that the raw side is lost. It's normally because you are getting better, more albums, more recording, more live presentations. That's normally. So, which is normal, as I mentioned. So, but fans don't understand this issue of improving as a musician, and they stick to the rawness for the first albums because they love these kind of aspects. So for that, that's why do you think that this sense of being so? What do you think that this sense of the being better musician perhaps loses the essence of the beginning and a part the original idea perhaps is lost?
No, not for me. That's what I said, basically. You put on the new Master album or put on the first album, you still feel the same energy. In my opinion, it's still straightforward. It's still aggressive. It's just I'm playing bass better than I was back then. Back then I was just playing a couple notes on a song. As for now, I'm playing. I write the guitar and the bass, so I'm playing the bass parts like the guitar player, of course. But back in the beginning, I was just playing the bass and just trying to be as heavy as possible. For me, it's better that I write all the songs now. In the early days, it was great. On the first album, we had 3 writers. I admit that, so there was quite a bit of variety on it on the first album. But by the second album, I had to take over and do most of the writing. There was a little bit of writing by Jim Martinelli on the second album as well. He wrote 2 cool songs, in my opinion. Then, as the albums progressed or whatever, I had to take over again. Then Alex, my guitar player, he started bringing in 1 or 2 songs on each album for many of these albums recorded here in Czech. And the last two albums, which I would say are my favorite in the last several years, let's say, I wrote them completely. Every guitar part, every bass part, I dictated every drum part, you know. Okay, I let the guys, come in with some ideas or whatever on their drums or whatever, or maybe some guitar solo parts or whatever, of course, But the basic structures of the songs, the last two albums, I did 100% myself. And I have to say that a lot of those songs, for me, are the best ones. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's my best record.
Yeah,
I
correct,
just
correct.
there were other ones that were good too. I'm not going to say that. We had a lot of good records, but as I said, a lot of problems is no promotion. A lot of people couldn't find the records, and thankfully, Hammerheart has reissued them all, and they keep going out of print again because everyone's buying them out around the world. Like I said, the last 10 albums or whatever, you couldn't find them in the USA, and now you can. Well, this is a great thing for me. Now people get a chance to see what they missed, and that makes me happy that they're out there buying these records. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. That's
Cool.
true.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cool thing.
So you talk about how fun Outmaster was labeled death metal at the beginning and to now, because you'd never say that, I played death metal or Master plays death metal, just play extreme music, and that's the only thing that you remember for that. But when you read the reviews, all the people say that Master plays death metal, death thrash metal, etc. No? But in this case, you didn't care about this kind of situation. But at the same time, but you did at the same time, you are the one of the few death metal or extreme metal players that saw all eras from the death metal and since the beginning thrash metal too. So now for you, which era do you stick it? And now, because right now we have a lot of bands releasing new albums, records, etc. New bands also. In the 90s, the death metal grew up very fast with a new bands, with a lot of styles, brutal death metal, technical death metal, etc., etc. And also you saw the rawness of death metal with Bolt Thrower, with Death, Autopsy, the first bands, or Obituary, this kind of stuff. So now, what is your point of view of this whole death metal stuff since the beginning to now?
Oh, I think it's really cool that these bands that you speak about, Bolt Thrower, well, they're gone obviously, but Autopsy and Obituary, I'm glad they're still having success. It's great that they're out there playing the sold out shows everywhere. Master is not at that level. We never got to that level, but I'm not jealous about it. I don't care. I know where I came from. They know where I came from. Just sometimes you roll the dice and you get a different number, But what I want to say today is that I think it's really cool that there's a lot of new bands that are carrying on the flame, or keeping the flame alive and carrying on the tradition and playing death metal. Okay, I'm not into all these new styles with the clean singing and all this kind of crap. That's nothing for me. I'm still into the guys that are aggressive and angry with their vocals. It's always been like that for me. But on the other hand, like I said, I'm happy that at least they're trying to continue. I mean, what kind of world would it be without metal? Yeah.
Yes, yes, correct.
It's really true, for a while I was saying, oh yeah, all these newer bands that are copying, they're doing everything we did before. I was saying that for a while, and the last couple of years I started realizing that, hey, at least they're carrying on the tradition. Is more important, whether they're copying or not. At least they're trying to keep metal alive, so after I pass, there'll still be another generation of metalheads. I think that's a great thing.
No, yeah, that is true. That is true. So now, Tom, one thing that you said a few seconds ago, it's about now the metal is still alive, even underground or mainstream, this kind of stuff. But I remember when I was born in this world in the 80s, I remember see metal bands on TV, on TV, Headbangers Ball, and this stuff. But now the metal is at that time the metal was like a strike to the society. I remember because it's always annoying for a lot of people. Heavy, thrash metal, death metal, black metal. But since the past time, since 2000, since 2010, the metal was more accepted. Was more accepted for the people. Now you can see a lot of people joking with it, with black metals, with black metal corpses, paint corpses, this kind of. It's more. It's a
Great.
funny way. It's or death metal playing or doing like something like a videos. Joking about the weed, about a lot of videos happen. So
Yeah.
now, did you think now with the metal is more accepted? In this case, the metal lost the essence to stay against everything, because the metal has black metal
Um,
against the Christianity, about the
I
society,
don't.
economic, this kind of stuff.
I hate Christianity too, but I'm not going out murdering the priest. Oh, I may sing about it, but I'm not going to go out and murder a priest. I think there. Yeah, maybe you're right. It's not like rock and roll outlaws like 20 years ago. I
Yeah.
get your point. It's more accepted to a point, but it was bound to be accepted eventually. It's only so long that you can criticize people for having their own views and their own lives. So maybe you're right. It's not like Johnny Cash, it's not like outlaw music anymore to a point, but I still think there's a future and it's okay. Yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Okay. Now talking about the promotion for this new album, I saw that you will play it in Latin America in a couple months in
Mhm.
March, and I saw that you will play a lot of gigs here in March,
26.
so in 2026. That's amazing one. So for you, what kind of plans do you have for this upcoming Latin American tour? Because I saw you will play in Colombia, Peru. I love cities more. So
Bolivia,
Brazil,
but
Bolivia. Well, I
mostly
think I
Brazil.
think you play in all countries, so that's amazing for that. So what kind of plans do you have for this upcoming tour? Because in some countries you never played, so you will play for the first time. So what kind of preparation do you have? And the most important thing, how will you prepare your set list with 15 albums? Because some people never see you alive at the time when you play the first two albums, the 7 or 8
Okay,
album, because you never play,
okay.
and now you are coming with a new album. So
Yeah,
they
it doesn't
try to
matter.
catch.
We're only going to play the first two albums. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, only the first two albums. That's it.
Hmm.
Because this time around, like the promoter Victor, he said to me, Paul, I want you to do a special set. So I said, okay, we'll just do the first two albums and nothing else. So obviously we'll have to come back again to play the new album, whatever. Maybe the following year or maybe in the fall. We'll see what happens. That's
Hmm.
just the way it is. Normally, yes, you have a point. Normally I do a set with songs from not every album, but let's say the first two albums, the fourth album. I try to do a song or two from some of the albums, a combination set. We usually do like 16 songs. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. But this time around, we're going to do only the first two albums with some surprises, like What Kind of God and Heathen, some songs that we don't play often live. We're going to play those only in South America. So it's going to be special for them.
Hmm.
But on the
Okay.
other hand, like you said, they're not going to get a chance to hear the newer material. But that's life. Next time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, okay. With other ads, we are very close to this interview, Paul. And for this aspect, with 15 albums, well, I rephrase this. So I remember when a band like Creator, like Destruction,
Huh?
either Destruction in the 90s, tried to involve with the new era, groups, technical, this kind of music, and they left, they experimenting new things in certainly albums, because Creator plays and Cause from Conflict plays more groove, or Destruction plays more this technical trash, or Sodom more punk, this kind of aspect. So for
Mm.
you, with 15 albums on your career, for you, which album of this one separates completely the sound, or try to experiment it with new things at a time?
On a new album.
Mm.
Obviously, the new album has some unusual things that I never would have done before. Some bass solos. I never would do that before. The crazy intro on the special it's like a steel kind of drum. It sounds kind of like Japanese or Chinese. There's some experimentation there, but again, but even back in the day, Like on the third album, Collection of Souls, there was experimentation. I've been trying to experiment on many records, but you've never heard them, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, well, one of the last questions for this interview.
Hmm.
So, how do you see now the metal world now in general? How is for you? How is now the metal world seen with new bands, with the new records? Perhaps do you see this new era is too saturated with many labels, many releases, many bands because it's very saturated now. Now it's impossible to catch up all releases compared to the 80s and 90s, especially.
Okay, I agree with that. I'll agree with you there. There's too many bands and too many releases. But the one thing I will say is that when I'm going to these smaller festivals around Europe and stuff, and the fans are there, they're going crazy. They're supporting all the bands. There's still a strong scene, at least in Europe. I mean, we'll see in South America. I've had nothing but good responses and good reactions for years in South America, so I expect it to be good as well. But you got a point. It's hard to keep up with all the bands. That has a lot to do with the internet, you know?
Yeah, that is Paul.
It's true.
So
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Mhm.
What were you
So,
gonna say?
well, Paul, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know more about Master because a lot of experience happened to release these new Saints this build. That's amazing for that. And congratulations on this new record. It's a great one as usually. So perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect this new Latin tour and obviously Metallium followers?
I just want to say, get out there and support the local bands. Even in Latin America, same thing. Get out there and support your buddies because without the local bands, the scene's going to die. The local bands, if they have success and you're out there supporting your brothers, they got a chance to go to the next level and maybe have success. We want to keep metal alive. So that's my last thing, really. And of course, I look forward to coming to South America again and playing some concerts. I can't wait to meet the fans and have a drink and a smoke and whatever. Yeah.